Behind me was the very first football palace in the whole of the USSR, built especially for training footballers during the winter months. What I love about this place is that the facade, and even the inside for that matter, hasn't really changed at all in 50 years. Still looks exactly like it did. That's all original you're seeing there. Although the Soviet Union excelled at a number of sports and pastimes, the Olympic Games and ice hockey, chess, football is something they didn't excel at. And one reason for that is due to their climate. They couldn't train properly in the winter months. Lots of cool stuff in here. The arched pylons there, the ceiling, a huge football at the end there, the natural light that comes in from the windows. There's some proper old school seating there as well for the spectators. As cool as these large windows are, as you can see here, the afternoon sun really comes through and it made the place like a greenhouse, so they've had to try to put up the protective sheets. So this place was built for being used in the winter months. And really you can see why. It doesn't really work in the summer. On a hot day like today, it is like a sauna in here. Wow, I'm not even running around. The poor guys down there must be sweating like pigs. In keeping with the old school feel, they've even got an old notice board up there advertising matches. Some old adverts there from God knows how many decades ago. This poster is particularly cool because it's even got an image of the sports centre at the top. The tournament here from 1977 with teams invited from other parts of the Soviet Union, Georgia, Belarus, Moscow of course. Unlike many of the sports palaces which were square or rectangular, as you can see this one's actually circular. Connected to the back of the building is actually an ice skating rink. It's these columns that really give the building its character, and of course the top's interesting as well. This is undoubtedly a great piece of Soviet architecture. Needless to say, as with so many of the buildings, it's been spoiled by them putting in the horrible new windows. If it wasn't for that, wow, this building would still look pretty much exactly like it did in the 1970s.
Of course, it's not just in St. Petersburg where you can find these interesting sport palaces. They can be found all over the former Soviet Union. Here is a small collection of some of my favourite ones.
Just opposite the Sports Palace is Petrovsky Stadium. As you can see, the floodlights are pretty old school. The stadium itself is kind of cool. That stadium for many years is where the football club of the city Zenit played their home matches, but they moved to the World Cup stadium a few years ago. It's probably some kind of protected building, so even though Zenit don't play there anymore, I guess it can't ever be pulled down. I'm standing on the spot where the old Kirov Stadium used to be. It was one of the largest stadiums anywhere in the world, but was demolished in 2006 to make room for the brand new stadium which was used during the World Cup here.
Here's an aerial view of the old Kirov Stadium. These were the old steps to the stadium, which during its heyday packed in 110,000 spectators.
Have you noticed how stadiums, I mean they used to be like rectangular, didn't they, once upon a time, but now all the modern stadiums, they seem to be kind of like a circular shape. So today I'm doing something that I never do, and that is go to, well, hardly ever do, and that's go to a Premier League match in Russia. It's just always so much more hassle than it's worth. The stadium is actually located on an island. I mean, that shouldn't be that surprising, you know, St. Petersburg is made up of lots of little islands. This has always been very inaccessible, this part of the island. And recently they've opened a metro station right nearby, but before, the nearest one was all the way at the end of the pathway there. It took a good half an hour to walk from there. Now, St. Petersburg is a bit like Marseille in France or Newcastle in England, whereby it's just a one-team city. And in such places, people get really passionate about their team. St. Petersburg is very proud of the fact that their team is generally the best team in the country, better than any Moscow team. And Zenit have won the Russian Premier League for the past 6 consecutive years. So it seems that you have escalators at football stadiums these days. I don't go to stadiums often, so I mean maybe that's like everyone knows that. So if so, sorry, but wow, I didn't know football stadiums had escalators now. Well, it makes sense, I guess, if you're going to the top. The problem with all the new football stadiums now, everywhere in Europe, if not the world, is that although, I mean, they're nice and they're modern and they're safe and all of that, that's all great, but they just don't really have the character of the older stadiums, do they? Each one is basically the same. I don't know if it's my imagination or whether that's a roof, because today's like grey and overcast. It could be the sky or it could be a roof, I don't know. Actually, I think the roof probably is closed based on 2 things. Firstly, there's like an echo, the noise, it's really noisy in here because I guess everywhere's echoing, there's nowhere for the sound to go. And secondly, it does actually feel warmer in here than outside. So yeah, I guess we're watching this match inside. I guess these seats aren't being used these days. We're just basically to make sure the stadium was large enough to host the World Cup matches. If you look, it's the same over there as well. Now, not surprisingly, Zenit are the most supported club in the country. They get bigger attendances than anyone else. But really, for most Premier League matches, especially those outside of St. Petersburg and Moscow, they're played in pretty much 3/4 empty stadiums. And especially since the World Cup, you've got all these huge World Cup stadiums. And basically, they're kind of like white elephants. They're just more than half empty the whole time. Even here. Oh my goodness. Music starting. Wow, that's a little bonus for me before the match. Probably for real hardcore football fans, the concert before the match might be a bit of a distraction, but everyone seemed to really enjoy it, not just me. So like I said, even though it's the best supported club in the country, the stadium's still half empty. This is despite the fact that tickets start at £3. As it happens, I save myself the £3 admission fee and I got a free ticket because to encourage people, or as a reward for people who sign up for the fan ID, which is compulsory anyway, Zenit are giving free match tickets away. Wow, I've never seen this before. There's actually a fan shop like inside the stadium. You just like watch the match and do shopping at the same time. How cool is that? So this is their kit, the special Centenary kit here. Kind of cool actually. One problem is if you have to keep on walking around. You can't stand still for 1 second. Look, if you stand still for 1 second, you see there, you've got like these crocodiles, and they're crocodiles because they look like crocodiles in their green costumes, and also they'll snap at you if you stand for 1 second. So you've got to keep moving. Come down to the lower tier, so we're a lot nearer to the pitch here. I don't know if there's standard procedure these days in the world of, you know, social media, but there's like photographers just taking photos of the fans. I just actually noticed these are out on the seats in this lower tier. It's got the hymn of the football club. It's referring to the city still as Leningrad, and it's mentioning teams like Hamburg and Rapid, who were good in like the 70s or 80s. So I'm thinking this isn't a new song.